Baby Ninja. Oh, I hear him typing. We're good? We got sound, yo? Okay. So restarting from the top.
Tonight, the part of Gandalf will be played by Duke Flieg.
It was still good the second time.
It was way funnier though the first time. Jokes when you got to do them over on a live show, man. You know what though? That's what Between Two Peers is about. We're all a family of like kind of fuck ups. So here we go. Welcome to Between Two Peers. We're a live stream show where we, the hosts, invite a guest. This lovely gentleman, who he will introduce himself shortly, and I'm sure you already know, from around the known world to answer your pressing questions about life, the universe, and everything. This is like the third Hitchhiker's Guide reference we've managed to get through in the last 10 minutes. So I'm kind of bummed that this is show 41 and not show 42.
Oh, yeah.
But so, you know, we were working around schedules here to get this happen. So this week is sponsored by The Old Fashioned, because sometimes you just have to kick it old school. I am one half of your original Broadway recording cast, Tulia Alori. I'm from the West Kingdom. I am a court baroness and a laurel, and I'm just really excited about today's guest because, like I said a second ago, we've been trying to like work out our schedules to sync up. So let's get right to it. I'll turn this over to Helga.
Hi, I'm Helga. I'm a knight, a pelican, and a royal peer in the West Kingdom. And tonight I'm going to say that, you know, we're planning to kick it old school and make a lot of AS Rocks Were Soft references. Just
Maybe
so
that
you
should
all
be a drinking game rule.
Oh, I know. Oh, I should have added that one. Tonight, our amazing guest is Duke Flieg. We're seriously excited to have you on. Would you like to give us a little intro?
My actual SCA name is Frederick of Holland. Fleeg is a nickname which I've had both in the nominally real world and the SCA for all of my SCA life. And I've lived in 3 kingdoms, 5 if I count ones that split off after I left. And I'm currently resident in the West Kingdom, which is where I started. I've got a baldric, I've got a laurel and a pelican, and I've got my little duchy here. And mostly I just do things.
He sure does.
So that's it.
Fleeg, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I just said that's it.
Oh, okay. So with that, we're going to roll on to the drinking game, reminding everybody that the rules tonight, and I think we're going to end up adding 2 in. So, off the cuff rule, anytime one of us says AS Rocks Were Soft, drink. When a host or guest uses a non-SCA name when referring to somebody else on the show, when somebody's pet appears on screen, when somebody calls for a soapbox or the audience calls us on a soapbox, when somebody mentions spite sprinkles or toe beans. And Duke Frederick, what would your guest rule of the night be?
Anytime that I get really vague about some story I'm telling.
So anytime
you call me on
anytime
vague as opposed to
rambles?
Detailed. No, rambling is what I do.
I'm guessing it's I would give more information, but it might incriminate me sort of vague.
No, I was thinking of I can't remember which Pensic this was.
I see, yes.
Sort of vague.
Yeah.
Okay, we can work on that. So anytime Fleeg is vague, audience are going to need to call us on this. We drink.
Right. And also, I'd like to remind everybody that you can drink your drink of choice. You don't have to be drinking alcohol. You can be drinking tea, coffee, soda, whatever, water. It could be anything, but it's a fun game. And you know what? The more liquids you take in,
I've got water too.
Yeah, healthier your bladder is. And if you're like me, you'll be going to the bathroom a lot more. And that was TMI. Maybe we should show another rule when Tulia goes into TMI. But yeah, we wanted to remind everybody that this is not an alcohol hard rule. It is just drink and have fun with whatever you're drinking. So let's see. We want to move on now to the questions.
Yep, you get the first one.
All right. This is from us to you, Your Grace. How did you find the SCA?
Okay, this one is probably going to go over the 2-minute rule because it's
Don't worry about it.
moderately
It's your
long
show.
story. And I'll keep it briefer than sometimes is. Basically, you have to realize that back in 1966, there was a thing called science fiction fandom, which was alive, well, healthy, and was busy publishing blogs. Well, they weren't blogs then. They were called amateur press associations, and you had a ditto machine or a mimeograph, and you ran off 50 copies of what you were saying that week, and they all got bound together. And then the next week you would publish, the comment section on what people had said last week, and then you'd go and say your, actual content. And down in Los Angeles, there was the Los Angeles Science Fantasy Society, and it had an APA, Amateur Press Association. And in this APA, one late April, appeared a mimeographed sheet that said, you're all invited, for that it is May, come to this tournament. Which might not have been anything that would have gotten me in, except for the fact that I was also taking a ride up to the Bay Area that weekend to go see the Lamplighters production of Pinafore. Riding up with a fellow fan, and we went up there during the day on Friday, stopped in at the Friday evening meeting of the Elves, Gnomes, and Little Men Science Fiction Chowder and Marching Society, the Bay Area fan club at the time, and then went and saw the Lamplighters perform Pinafore, which is always excellent. And then I told Al Lewis, my ride, I'm going to take the bus home. I'm going to see about this tournament thing. And he said, okay, fine. And I had the address, I had the flyer, and I said noon. At noon, I showed up and found the address, and there was an apartment above, an apartment below, and it didn't say which apartment it was. And I sort of looked around through the gate into the backyard. There wasn't anybody there. And I double checked the address. Then I walked around the block, a couple of blocks, just to keep moving. And when I got back, the backyard was full of people, and they were hitting each other with sticks. And the rest of that is history, especially since I got to break one of the last swords that was made out of lath. And I didn't get a dent in my fencing mask that I put on. And it was a good deal of fun. And that's the start of it.
So you didn't so much find the SCA, but you were just there when it sort of happened.
Yeah, right. I was there at the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Is this where we need to like quote
55
Aslan of
years
like
later.
don't speak to me of old magic witch? I was there when it was created.
I don't use that kind of attitude often.
I figured it was just an amusement on my part.
Yeah.
Yes, that's always been one of my best lines about Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe too.
Oh, my favorite. I am a C.S. Lewis fan. I am, Tolkien, but C.S. Lewis, man, yeah. I know, two sides of the same coin, really. But all right.
Are we ready for the next question?
Yeah, let's do the next one.
So the next question is from us to you. What brings you back to the SCA or keeps you engaged?
That's a good question. And of course, with COVID, smushing everything around and it's totally destroying things. A lot of this doesn't, because it's the people. It's being able to use my skills as, a loud voice that has clear diction, as a herald, as a trainer. I'm not even all that social, but give me a bardic circle around the fire, and that's the sort of thing that brings me back. I miss that a lot. Oh, and cute information. Suddenly, somebody says, "Look what I found! It's this." They found the bones of the guy they threw into the well in this saga in 11 something or other.
I legitimately lost my mind when that happened. When they were just like, "Oh my god, the saga is real!" I was like, "Yes!"
Wait a minute, I need to get caught up because what? I've been stuck under a rock for the last week.
Do we want to put it up here?
I mean,
okay.
so
basically, there's this saga, which there was a bad guy who totally pounded on his neighbors, and his castle was besieged, and then the good guys broke in and they poisoned the well by throwing a body down the well and then piling rocks.
Wasn't this like also the plot of a movie in like the late 80s with
Flesh and Blood?
Power? Similar.
That was a dog, though.
Yeah, you're right. Those were, it was pieces of rancid, rotten dog meat. But yes, continue, Your Grace.
But the castle's real. Fortification, not really a castle. The well is real. The frame of it was still up on the surface. And they finally decided to dig down and take out all the rocks and see what was at the bottom of this well. And what was at the bottom of the well was the bones of a human being, which were carbon dated to within 25 years of the nominal date of the saga, which is within error bar for carbon dating. Yeah. Now they're going to continue taking all the rest of the rocks out and find out how they made this well, which is actually quite deep.
Yeah, it's super cool. So one little weird factoid about this, and I need to double check if it's this one or a different saga. Originally, the reason why they ended up like coming back to this site is because in World War II, it was hit with a bomb. And that's how they were like, why is there a bunch of shit at the bottom of this well? And that's when they started looking, and it ended up getting walled off, and they came back to it. And so it's this really cool, weird, like where the world kept being like, hey, by the way, this saga is real. Like maybe, but now they're checking out other historical sites along that saga route and finding more and more evidence that saga is literally a historical tale.
So this reminds me a lot of Richard of York. Like, people joked for decades that he was probably buried under some car park in York.
He was.
Turns out he was totally buried under some car park in York.
That was nuts.
I love that stuff. And then that actually is also part of what keeps me coming back to the SCA, because it's just fun to talk about these things and to find these connections with the past. And, yeah. All right. So we move on to the next question.
Yep. Let's go with the next one.
All right. So this is from Elise. What is one thing that the current SCA could learn from early SCA?
The early SCA, I see it through glasses that were not at all tainted by the politics and the struggles that were actually going on behind the scenes. As today, I am remarkably immune to spotting the signs of political disturbances, violent breakups, and things like that. So the Annotated History Project, which is up on web,
The West Kingdom
at the
history.
westkingdom.org site,
Yeah.
has a lot of that background. And reading that, there isn't that much different except the chattels, the physical accoutrements that is different about the current SCA and the original SCA. I think that we have lost a little bit of the sense of play. Some of it we've lost because we're older. Some of it we've lost because some of that play was not actually consensual.
Mhm.
And that is an improvement, not something we can go back to. I think I'll settle on one thing which was very common in the early SCA and it still exists in the current SCA, but not to nearly as great an extent. And that is the idea that you traded favors to get the goods you were wearing. I bought this tunic, not the embroidered panel, that was a gift, but the red tunic. I bought it, a friend of mine, because she was making them and she needed the money. In the beginning, I think there's probably were 10 of us in the SCA who actually had money in terms of a decent salary that would keep us clothed, fed, and have enough spare stuff to buy a pavilion. So we traded, a lot of, I'll help you clean out your basement if you help me sew this tunic. And it was help me sew this tunic, not make me a tunic. It's still going on. And it's still one of the best ways we have of really engaging newcomers is we'll help you get the kit that you need to play.
And it's not, the bar for entry is pretty low.
The bar for entry to the SCA is still incredibly low.
It is. I mean, we're not I don't think we qualify as the lowest bar for entry anymore. But for decades, we for sure were in anything that was remotely reenactment like. And that was one of our selling points, is that we could appeal to people that didn't have a vast amount of money to outlay. And we were a culture that would pool knowledge and pool talent and pool resources. And I do think we're still that culture, but I do agree. I think you're right. Even in the time I've been in since the early 90s, I've seen that culture fade further and further away to a more commerce based, like, you can buy these things, you can put the money out to get these things right off the bat rather than learn how to make your own tunic. It may not be the best tunic anybody's ever made in the entire history of whatever, but we'll teach you how to make a tunic, and you have that life skill now.
So can I ask a side question, Fleeg?
Sure.
So you mentioned that some of our older members don't like the play part. So this is me fumbling through trying to create a question around it. Is how can we invite our older members back to that play, back to feeling included, and so they will come back out and join us? Because that's actually one of the things that, like, I try to make sure that, like, you're one of my favorite people to spend time with, but also I want to see if you can kick my ass at, like, bottle jousting. I'm good with that, because you probably can. And so, like, is there a way that we as the next generation can invite the older generation to take part with us?
That wasn't the sort of play that I was talking about. I mean, I might be able to beat you at bottle jousting, but I might also throw my back completely out doing the same thing. I'm 74 years old, and bottle jousting is really a young person's sport. And I am not as young as I used to be. Not old yet. But I meant the frivolity. And I'm going to have to drink because I'm in the West. we do have a certain amount of that acceptance of things like flamingos having been made into tournament weapons, or the running of the toys and the setting loose of the velociraptors, and Filk in praise of people in court. And I think that's healthy. And it's, as I said, again, like many things, it's not gone. It's just less common.
So like rewording it then is like, so how can we continue to spur that on? Because that's one of my favorite aspects of the
Whimsy.
SCA.
I think
Yeah,
I'm reading the comments, and Elsie chimed in and she said whimsy. How do you
that's
that?
yeah. And so
Good word.
that's
Thank you,
what I'm
Elsie.
asking is, how do we incite that whimsy? Like, how do we bring that back? Because whimsy in the SCA is huge for me. Like, that's actually one of the reasons why I'm still here, being one of the people that ran around with those flamingos and, you know, loves the running of the toy chest and absolutely adores Filks, is how do we continue to invite that play? How do we continue to have the SCA full of whimsy while we're also historical, you know, reenactors at the same time? How would you like, do you have any suggestions for that?
No. Unfortunately, no, I don't.
Cool. Then I'm going to turn that into a question we're going to ask the board.
It's a whimsy up in this business.
Yeah. So
the thing is, whimsy is the product of an unfettered imagination, and an intelligent one, because otherwise you just get jests. But to a certain extent, we were over successful in creating our social structure and our rankings so that if anyone with a relatively high rank level goes, geez, can't we just, you know, be back in the Middle Ages? Boom. The whimsy just got a bucket of water thrown on it. Mm. And it doesn't take very many people. And it takes people like you, Helga, to bring the whimsy back. It's not a matter of encouraging it. It's a matter of it has to bubble over and be unstoppable. It's not a thing you can. Whimsy is like weeds. If you encourage it too much, they die. They can't stand a smooth, well-groomed soil. Okay, finish now.
I'm internalizing all of that right now. I'm trying to, you know, absorb that.
I absolutely adore whimsy is like weeds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna have to, like, there's gonna be so many thinky thoughts on this one. Like, my next 5 coffee thoughts posts are gonna be about whimsy. I would like to thank you very much, Your Grace. You just filled my cup. I can sign off now. I'm gonna go to bed and I'm gonna think about my life.
Well, you and I are gonna continue talking while she just nopes.
No, I'm totally not noping out of this show. This show is gonna be amazing.
This is a show we've been wanting to do for a long time. And
okay. All right, so are we ready for the next question then?
Yeah, let's do this.
As ready as I can be.
All right, this one comes from Genevieve.
Genevieve.
I'm sorry, I tried.
Do I need to like phonetically spell that out?
No, you could phonetically spell it and I'm still gonna butcher it because my brain is just so weird about names that it panics like every time.
I'll 100% correct you every single time.
Oh no, I'm perfectly fine with that. Please correct me if I pronounce names wrong. So this one comes from Genevieve. There. You have seen the evolution of the SCA structure and culture from the beginning to where we are now. Can you think of a time where the SCA came to a fork in the road moment where the SCA could have been a very different place if a different decision had been made?
in a sense, that's every event. I think that one of the biggest things that made the SCA what it is today is when Tolkien fandom and the SCA officially split. The Mythopoeic Society, which was early Tolkien fandom, and I don't know whether it still exists or not, but the Mythopoeic Society and the SCA and science fiction fandom, I need a third hand, were all on parallel and really close tracks. Gaming didn't exist yet as a fandom. And science fiction fandom and the SCA were gradually growing apart like this, but the Mythopoeic Society was hanging on to the SCA. And I'm going to take a vagueness drink because I can't remember exactly which year it was, but there was an official ruling from the board and the actual power structure, which is to say the people who did things, that the Tolkien was Tolkien, and magic, it had elves, it had an entirely different thing from history. And we were going to do history. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we do history badly, but we're getting better.
We do it in our own personal idiom.
Yes, we do. But that was a big one. That set us away from being a fandom mm-hmm. and into being more of what we are. But there's plenty of other forks in the road. God, there are.
That's actually a really cool fork in the road I didn't know about.
I kind of did because, my friend Radar, who just chimed in on the chat, she chimed in and said that, yes, the Mythopoeic Society still exists. She knows someone who's currently the treasurer. And I had a lot of very early on in when I discovered the SCA, my early years of all of this was very tied into fandom as well. And so I knew that there was all of these kind of roots that sort of originated with one another and sprung up and then split off. And we get, all these variations of what we, our branch went one direction, that branch went this direction, that branch went this direction. But we all kind of were sort of a weird little miasma, especially in like the early to mid 60s. Yeah. So but it is very kind of esoteric knowledge. You had to know people that knew people at the time.
But that's the biggest one I can think of.
Right.
And it's very early. There have been several other branch points.
Oh, well, in any society that's this old, actually, I'm not shocked by that. So are you ready for the next question?
Let's do the next. Yeah. Okay. This is from Randy. So this is Fleeg. What is your favorite no shit there I was story?
Okay, permission to go over 2 minutes.
Oh, you have permission granted.
Okay. Once upon a time, and I was going to have to do a vague drink here, but I found a piece of paper the other day. It says, and it was in Gulf War 6. Because I have a program book for Gulf War 6, and it was at the only Gulf Wars I have ever attended. Various people have been starting to go to Gulf Wars from the West, and people said, Fleeg, you ought to go, you'll love it. And I went, all the way across the country, extra time, it's the middle of the semester, because I was working at Berkeley then, not retired. And then John the Bear Killer said, Fleeg, my boys and I got together and bought you a plane ticket. Or we're getting together to buy you a plane ticket. Will you come? And it was like, well, when John the Bear Killer, who was a friend of mine even then, says, my boys and I are going to buy you a plane ticket. You say, okay, fine. And then I managed to get all my armor into one 4-foot duffel with my shield strapped to it, which they didn't like, and my sword sticking out of the opening at the top, which they said, is that going to break? And I said, if that breaks, we've got a lot bigger problems than that breaking. I mean, and it didn't. So I got picked up and taken to Gulf Wars. It was a red-eye flight. And up there we are in Gulf Wars. Everybody's complaining how cold it is. And the temperature is a warm 70 with humidity. And I found a bunk. They assigned me a bunk that was up near the ceiling of a room, which was heated by a pair of electric heaters. And the temperature near the floor was 80. The next day, or the day after the next day, was castle battles. Now, those of you who have been to Gulf Wars know the front of the castle. At the time, the front was all there was of the castle. The two side walls were non-existent. There were a couple of posts which represented the postern gate. And there was a post that represented the way the wall went. And there was two posts. Where's my camera? There we go. Two posts like this. The wall goes like this, and the wall goes off to the side horizontal in this picture. And there's a gap where the archers can't shoot, right next to the gate, because they had to stay their side of the wall, and so they couldn't get the angle. Well, I took the polearm I had borrowed and stood in that gap. And there was a bunch of lead up to this, which I'm not going to go into. I'm standing in that gap, and there's nothing on this side of me. There's nothing on this side of me except the castle. And the wall is the imaginary wall that's there. And people, I was fighting for Mardi, and Mardi was allied with Anciora that year. So the Trimarans were trying to get into the castle, and I was going bop, bop, bop anytime one of them would stick a helm in. And if they stick a shield in first, I would push the shield forward, they would stumble, and I would get them. So I was having fun, and an expat Westie was right beside me, and he was having fun. And John the Bear Killer comes running up and outside the wall and says, Fleeg, what? Is it legal for ballista ammunition to have rebar in it in the West? And I went, fuck no. What is, and he's gone. And this guy goes, what? No, you've got to be kidding. Oh, wait a minute, there comes one, pop. Because of course they had no way to disguise when they were trying to come through too. And so we're going back playing whack-a-mole or whack-a-trimaran, whatever. And all of a sudden, Bear Killer is right back beside me going, was it ever legal in the West Kingdom? And I go, John, what the heck is, no, what is, and he's gone. And this expat Wesley says, got another one coming. So eventually we finished up that scenario. And I went and, well, actually, there's one more thing. Suddenly a hold is called. Everybody goes, oh, bloody. Because it's global hold. And Robert Glendon of Auk, a man with a fine ability to choose words, gets up on the top of the castle and delivers a 3-minute speech about what exactly is allowed in ballista ammunition and what is not, including grape shot, pebbles, stones, boulders, rebar. And everybody inside and outside the castle are going, huh? Okay, I guess. And then they finished up the scenario. It was time to go clean up. And I found Bear Killer and went, okay, what the heck was that all about? And he said, well, a tennis ball had landed at some fighter's feet, and he'd stepped on it, and rebar came out. Pieces of rebar about 1 inch to 1.5 inches long.
God.
Came out of the slit in the tennis ball, because all tennis balls are slit. That's standard procedure for ballista ammo. And he sort of took this to a marshal, and the marshal called on Bear Killer to deal with it, because there was a name on the side. All ammo has to be ID'd. And Bear Killer took it back to the ballista team and said, blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, we're from the West. It's legal back there.
What?
I hope the side eye was given.
No, Bear Killer just headed off. He knew where I was.
Yeah, it's like, let me check.
He also knew I'd been working with Robert of Vinhold on siege engine design. And so, because I had been doing that, it was, I could say authoritatively, no, because weighting the ballista ammunition is really a thing that you want, because tennis balls are too light, but you can't weight it with things like that could be dangerous, like, rebar.
Seriously.
You know what works really good?
What?
Mardi Gras beads.
Oh. And those are fun.
Because they're relatively light, but they're heavier than a tennis ball. Huh. They come in a string, so an individual one can't get out and get in someone's eyes. Anyway.
And if they explode, you have a festive necklace.
Yeah. And
I'm just still stuck on how.
Now, just a second. It gets worse. Remember, he came by and asked me twice. First time he asked me if it was legal in the West, and I said no. And he came back and he said, well, we have Duke from the West, and he says it's not legal. Well, it used to be, said this ballista team. And that's when he came back the second time. And when he returned from that, their cards were yanked.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
Oh, okay. Yes, it was. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's, as far as I'm concerned, my best no shit, there I was story.
Pretty. No
I was about to say rebar and tennis balls. That kind of wins. Okay, so I just have the side note of how the hell did you guys not die in the early SCA, AS, Rocks or Soft, everybody drink? Because rebar and tennis balls, shave down baseball bats, not fighting with gauntlets. I would like to know, did you guys just have really good roll saves or what?
Well, I got a broken hand from fighting without a good enough gauntlet.
You learned through.
Oh yeah, I immediately made myself a pair of gauntlets.
Yeah.
That were structurally sound. They weren't pretty at all. God. Yeah. But I think God gave us a dispensation for the first 10 years.
Yeah, like for the first
Just-
10 years, you idiots can figure this out. Then after that, you're screwed.
Because I wondered the same thing. You have to remember that we some of it was due to the fact that we didn't have the mechanics yet.
Mhm.
On the other hand, we also had some people who were just really plain strong, and we had a lot of bruised chins. Fighters still get bruises.
Yeah, but broken bones, concussions, like all of that stuff that now that the armor is much more improved, is more limited. We don't see maybe as many as there had been.
Well, and again,
yeah,
we didn't have the mechanics by and large.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right. So are we ready to roll into the group questions?
Yeah, let's do this.
Actually, that was one of the things. Sassy, do you need a commercial, or shall we go another question?
Let's go into. I can do probably like 2 more questions.
Okay, awesome. So in this, Fleeg, I forgot to give you the behind the scenes. This is the one thing I forgot to tell you, that as our honored guest, it is your prerogative to always have first answer to the question. You can tap out and say one of you guys can answer this, but as our honored guest, you always go first.
I knew that.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
He's watched the show before. He knows how
He's watched the show a bunch, but like I just absolutely forgot that kind of main piece in the background's talk. So the first question comes from Sammy. What is your special peer trick?
I'm not sure I have one. At least not that I regard as a trick. I mean, I've got some ability to tell stories. I've got some ability to shout down opposition, but those aren't tricks. Those are tools. I don't think of myself as having a peer trick. Now you guys could disagree with me on that if you have an idea of what you think my peer trick is. And I think Sassy
do. I would say there are times where I have encountered you in a real pickle, and you have the amazing ability to say, oh, well, this is what you need to do to get out of it. Particularly when I come to you kind of tipsy, like giggling crazily over this stupid joke that I want to turn into a piece of heraldry, the vagina dentata, and you took me seriously and you tried to figure it out. You have a skill set that you'll consider anything as valid, and we probably can work with that. So I would say that's probably one of your peer tricks.
Okay, that's just common sense and imagination. But you can think of that as my peer trick if you like.
Well, I choose to, because most people would look at me and be like, "Really, Tulia? You went. Actually." Helga?
I'm gonna say that Fleeg's stupid peer trick, or like super peer trick, is actually applied whimsy and imagination with the ability to execute it within our rules.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a perfect yes. Exactly.
Okay, I didn't think of that as a trick. I will admit it's talent.
Fair enough. Trick, we're using trick as a very broad term, not a very literal term, but yeah, you got the ability to do that. All right.
Sassy, it'd be your turn to answer.
I guess my turn. So I think my super peer, since we're being positive and we're not calling it a stupid peer trick, I am, which is normally, by the way, what it's referred to colloquially. I can spell the word. I can't actually say the word. But I think for me, it is, and I will agree, this is an acquired skill. It's not a magical thing. It's just after over years and years and years of doing the thing, you become accustomed to identifying stuff very easily. I can tell fiber by looking at it. And although there's been some really good advancements in fiber technology in the last decade or so, it's starting to fool me, which is not cool fiber technology, but it's, Mostly, I can tell a synthetic from a natural. I can tell you a wool from a silk. I can tell you, all of that. That's easy. I've touched fabric my whole life, and I know how to do this. I can do it by sight. The other is I can probably pattern whatever you want me to, make into an outfit. I can figure out a pattern for it. Helga?
I'm actually gonna roll, like, Fleeg kind of like made me speechless earlier, and so I'm gonna roll with it. I'm a whimsy weed. And I will go it like that is my stupid peer trick, is reminding other peers that whimsy is okay and that whimsy keeps our newcomers around. Because when they're like, oh hey, like maybe we should be more serious, I'm kind of two middle fingers in the air and I'm like, what you gonna do about it? And so I'm gonna say that my stupid peer trick is being a whimsy weed, and I'm really fucking proud of that.
Whimsy bomb.
Whimsy bomb, motherfuckers.
Next question?
Yep, we're ready for the next question. I believe that one is yours, Miss Sassy.
Yes. Antonio de Sforza, which, by the way, I love that name.
Sorry, say it again.
Antonio de Sforza. It's an Italian name. When it comes to the two paths of the chivalry, why did you choose to take that of the baldric? And then he follows up with the open hostility many kingdoms have towards the concept of making new masters of arms. Would you still encourage fighters to aspire to that path if our mundane lives prevent an oath of fealty?
Let me answer the very specific second question first. Yes, because in the end, this is a consensual reality that is a subset of the consensual reality that we call culture today.
I like consensual reality. Wow. Note to self.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't think that was a strange word.
No, it's not. It's just a really good term for what that is, for what you mean. Wonderful. Yeah.
As to why I took it, that was a personal decision made upon a highly romantic view of chivalry and my relationship to it and all that, and which gets rather long and personal. So I'm not going to tell it. It was very much not based on, I couldn't take an oath. It was very much not based on history. It was based on a relationship I had and my thoughts on the interaction of that relationship and the SCA. So as for, many kingdoms having negative reactions, I would want to actually put up a poll, find out exactly how many kingdoms do have that. Because I can think of Caid and Meridies. And probably Trimaris and Anstiora. No, Anstiora has masters. Sorry, Anstiora has lots of masters. But quite possibly Trimaris because it came out of Meridies, and Glenavon, therefore, because it came out of
Yeah, Glenavon has some problems with masters.
But the East, no problems. Ethelmark, no problem. West, problem, but if someone's stubborn enough, Lash, then they'll make a master at arms. And as far on tier, the same. Outlands, ditto. I think that resistance to masters at arms is about a 50-50 thing, not a lots and lots of kingdoms do this and only a few kingdoms have masters. I have no idea what the mid-realm attitude towards it is, and mid-realm is kind of big to have just one answer anyway. I was going to go on something about Masters. Nope, lost it.
You can always come back to it. You can
But
always,
that's I think sufficient answer for that particular.
Helga.
So all of you guys have heard my rant on fealty. And the reason why I chose chivalry over a baldric, going to a knight versus being a master, is because I take the fealty oath very seriously. Yes, Fleeg?
Oh no, you continue yours, but I remembered what it was I was going
Well,
to.
do you want to finish, and I'll just go back to it.
Okay, basically, as far as encouraging people to take the baldric rather than the belt, I am very happy with the fact that well over 95% of people offered the accolade, take the belt. Knights are historic. Knights are romantic. There are no masters of the round table. Now, there are Jedi masters, and every Jedi Knight wants to become one, but that's a different universe, even if it was a long time ago. The knighthood has a very well-defined set of boundaries in terms of the fealty and the obligations thereof. If you're a master, you're wandering around somewhat outside those boundaries, and it's not quite as safe. And if you don't really know what you want, then it's easiest to take the knighthood. Now, I know somewhat about your rant, and I take the oath of fealty very seriously too. It's one of the reasons why I am a master.
Oh,
Okay,
it's one of
that's
the
it.
reasons why I was very honored when you gave your fealty when we reigned. So some people have heard my rant on fealty, and mind you, I would like to note that that rant has been updated after a couple conversations after that, because people can change. You can have more information. So I look at a Master at Arms as the standalone peer. You are a peer without a place, actually. So it is either the easiest or the hardest to take. Because when the chips go down, you must uphold your own oath. You are a peer of the people. And so it becomes a little harder. To be a knight is to know where your fealty lies. Your fealty to the populace flows through the crown. Versus a master's does not completely unless the choice is made, unless they make that choice. And so the reason why I took knighthood over taking a master is that I know at some point I will stumble and I will need the brothers and sisters of the chivalry to remind me of my oath. And so I took chivalry because the oath, while it is consistent, there are so many people, we are a huge pool, it becomes pooled renown. And so when one of us fails, the rest of them go and try to pick them up. And then when we as an order start failing, the other ones will start picking it up. And so it is like a group, we are all one really weird being, amusingly enough, kind of in my head. Versus the masters are standalone. The masters are much more like the Laurels and Pelicans. They choose to give their oath of fealty. They choose to swear fealty or not to a crown at any given time. And so when they do, it has more weight. It also means that they can escape it easier and they can be lazy. So they are actually held to a higher standard in my mind. The masters that I know have spoiled me in their riches of their ability to swear fealty and hold their own boundaries, versus many of the knights do not. And so that is actually the difference in a master and chivalry for me. Also, I will also say that part of the reason why I took a knight is there's really a romantic ideal about being a knight, and I really wanted to be a knight. So that was also part of my decision. And so, but that's where it falls for me with fealty. I'm a little weird about the fealty when it comes to the oath, but also I rewrite all my oaths to something that I can strive to live up to. My wedding vows did not say until death do us part. It said until love shall fail us. I am in a heavier duty oath about my knighthood than I am about my marriage. Pew pew. There you go. There's my very vague one. So everybody drink because I was a little
There.
big.
I'm a Laurel. That's the only peerage I have. So mine is, yes, entirely optional. It's opt-in, it's opt-out. There are, like, honestly, I don't think I have never not sworn fealty. Even if the crown reigning at the time were not my favorite people in the entire universe. I've still stepped up to the plate and said, I swear, I think of it as I swear fealty to the crown, not to the person necessarily wearing it and their weird ass values. And I do subscribe to the very perhaps Western philosophy of, well, if the king tells you to dig a hole, you can spend 4 months finding a shovel. So
it's amazing how clever those shovels get at hiding.
Right? I looked everywhere and I can't find one. What? Weird, right? But I do take my oath of chivalry, or my oath of, to the kingdom, incredibly seriously. I do feel it's a binding thing. And so me personally, I approach my my fealty to the crown and the kingdom is every bit as serious and heavy as a knight who is an obligate, that has to swear fealty no matter what. However, I have known a number of knights who are just like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this reign out, and that to me is like, well, you're kind of opting in, you're opting out, like you get to make that choice, but if we're all gonna really take all this shit seriously, yes, Helga, I know, I see your hand. And I know what's coming out of your mouth in like 3 seconds, but I've seen this happen. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy about if I'm going to be in fealty to something, because I'm an incredibly loyal person, if I'm going to like take that oath of fealty, well, fuck you, I'm in fealty. Like through thick and through thin, I am riding this crazy train straight to the depths of whatever fuckery lies at the end of it. But that's a personal thing, and that is a choice I get to make as a Laurel. I can for sure dip out at any time. Helga, would you like to?
I have so many feelings.
So many feels. I bet you do. I bet you do. But here's, before you go into the feels, actually, I want to just, put this out there again, is that the choice is, it's a wonderful luxury of what we get to have as intellectual creatures. Essentially, the choice of a Laurel to say, well, I am not gonna swear fealty to that motherfucker, screw that guy, I don't want to swear fealty, he represents all of the things I don't like about the SCA. Like, that's never happened to me, thankfully. Even the people I don't personally like, they have still represented the crown to the best of their ability and not done serious harm to the organization or to the kingdom. So that is a luxury, though. And if you are going to sign on to the knighthood, I feel, as somebody that has no stake in this game, you can't sit out. You can't just be like, well, I just decide not to. So Helga, I'm sorry, I probably stepped all over you.
Oh, no, you didn't step all over me at all. You just like gave me the great foundation to then be a ranty asshole for a moment. When fealty is optional, it is easy or hard. But one of the things that I have found as a knight, that when somebody, and I would like to note that I am a baby knight. This is very new. I'm still wet behind the ears, green as motherfucking grass.
How many years has it been?
Just 3? Over 2. And like literally we've been in a pandemic for most of the time. We have now been in pandemic land longer than I've been a knight.
Oh, people are calling soapboxes, by the way. So
yeah, no, there's totally a soapbox on this one. Fealty is personal. That is one of the reasons why I am so protective of other people's fealty. And they give it, so amusingly enough, Fleeg and I kind of had a little exchange about it, because I was like, this is my fealty box, and like everybody should be applied to this fealty, and I was like, oh, I am wrong, because he called me out in the comments of a show, and I was like, let me go think on this.
Fealty, I always love that.
Yeah, fealty is super personal to each of us. And like it's just like our wedding vows, or it's just like what we promise to do with a boss, or like the how we keep our word is basically our fealty. And one of the things that I feel that the knights are surrendering when they and this is the difference between a master and a knight for me, is the knights are surrendering their ability to say no.
Mm.
They are not surrendering their ability to defend the populace and to speak or be silent. The crown is what we are swearing fealty to, not the person. And so I actually make sure to swear fealty to a crown that I dislike more than a crown that I like, because it matters to make sure that I am there for the populace in the process and can stand in the way when shit goes wrong. That's actually the reason. That's the reason why my oath of fealty is so heavy duty, and one of the reasons why I feel that I chose the path of the knight is I always must face to the crown when dealing with things. But again, that is very personal for me, and I realize that I'm a little bit of a fealty zealot. Like, we're just gonna put that right there. Of I realize I'm a fucking nut job about this, which is the reason why I don't make promises a lot in real life, and I don't swear fealty very often. And like, except as a knight, like I will swear fealty if I am there, and if I am not there, I will swear fealty during the reign, because that's what I have chosen to do. But like in real life, it's the same way. Unless I know that I am there to either protect or defend that individual, I won't make them that promise because I can't follow my word. And so that's the reason why, like, knighthood for me is this really weird, heavy fucking basket of emotional fuckery.
I like emotional fuckery. It's my favorite thing. Fleeg, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, dispassionate fuckery is like boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, dispassionate fuckery is super boring.
Yeah, that's just fuckery. That's just some straight up fuckery, which is not conducive to anything. All right. Okay, well, I think we've moved that on. Do you want to guys go to commercial? Because I feel like I might need to visit the little Tulia's room.
Well, why don't you go visit little Tulia's room? We will run our commercials, and then we'll come back for a couple more questions, and then we'll take on some audience questions.
Cool.
The Cedar Wardrobe specializes in custom-made garments tailored to your measurements. Patterns are pulled from period sources whenever possible for a more authentic look, and full hand sewing is available upon request. If the item you're looking for isn't on the website, just send an email and we can work on a custom order together. Everyone deserves to have clothing that fits well and flatters their body, no matter what shape they are, be it corsets, medieval or Renaissance garb, reenactment of any era, cosplay, or ritual wear. The Cedar Wardrobe is here to help you fill your custom-made needs. Find them at thecedarwardrobe.com or facebook.com/thecedarwardrobe.
Hi, I'm David Yardley. I'm going to be releasing an album of my medieval and fantasy-inspired music called The Lost Codex of Avalon. Pre-orders are already available of the album at my website, which is davidyardleymusic.com. I've been immersed in medieval and Renaissance authentic music for the last 30 years of my life, and I compose based on a deep understanding and a lifelong love of that period of music. All of these have been sources of the inspiration to find that space for fantasy and the medieval in the modern world.
Painted Sky Pottery creates unique, medievally inspired pottery. From Roman phallic Samian ware to 16th century proper costrals, they make it all. And with everything from plain terracotta to bright glazes, you are sure to find the perfect piece. As we head into the Yule gifting season, you might find just this right item for that special someone. You can find them on Facebook at Painted Sky Pottery. The Cedar Wardrobe specializes in
Well, and we are back when Tulia is still visiting the little Tulia's room, which means we're going to pull the first question submitted by the audience. So let me go do that. Oh my God. Randall asks, how many passing devices do you think you've consulted on?
I have no freaking idea. And it's in the hundreds.
I was about to say, I know mine is one of them.
More than 40.
Yeah, we worked on yours 3 times.
Yeah, I know. And then I was just like, I'm over it.
Is it just like, oh, honey, no, every single time?
No, so I kept running into conflicts because I had to deal with getting mine passed on the old rules. And so I was conflicting against quartered field versus gyrony field, and it screwed a bunch of that up.
Yeah.
And we had some problems with your name too.
Yeah, my name, pretty much I just turned them loose. I was like, just make my name pass. Like, just make it so I have a name. I don't care. And then I almost changed my name for my knighting. However, there has been the bathroom breaks, there has been the commercials, and we came back to the splashing of the Lady of the Lake. So the Lady of the Lake asks, oh my God.
I feel it's appropriate.
Do you have a favorite pair of mittens? Like Bernie? Or a favorite snuggly item that you wear?
Bernie thinks the meme is hilarious too.
Not really. I do have a very nice wool hood that occasionally I wear around my neck. I have no desire to pull a hood over my face, but it has a nice broad thing, and it's good on those nights where the breeze is going like this, and it's 45 degrees. But no, I don't actually have a favorite Wuzzy.
I was actually going to modify that question slightly and say that if you came with an accessory like a toy, what would it be? And the Fleeg action figure comes with dot.
Well, obviously comes with the baldric.
Yes.
But I never collected action figures, so I don't know what to say about this, but it would probably be a set of the rules so that you can figure ways around them.
Know the rules so you can break them.
Beer chalice.
So
yeah, and the beer chalice.
Yes, which is out in the car. So
I was going to say. So I grew up in the action figure era. Like, I am a straight up Gen X millennial, kind of down the middle. We call those Zennials, I guess now. I don't know. Anyways, grew up in the middle of that divide, which was heavily action figure oriented, with all of the accoutrement that you could buy for your toy. And I would have to say, if I was going to make a Fleeg action figure, it would have your van. You would come with your hat and coronet and the goblet.
Yep.
That would be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be all your little featured, like maybe.
Thank you. That's the kind of thing that I wouldn't have thought of, because I didn't grow up during the action figure era.
You are my parents' generation. Yeah. That's okay though, because
I'm good with that.
Helga, do you want to answer that question?
Oh, so the snuggly thing that I count. So my favorite SCA snuggle item is I have a ducal hood that I absconded with from somebody else. That is like the super heavy coat weight wool, lined with this really, really soft linen that I will, if I'm cold while I'm working in the office, like mundanely, I will put it on, because then I don't need a sweatshirt, and I love that thing. I've been in the rain in that. I have been in the sleet in that. I have been at home cold in that. I don't care. Like, I will find every excuse ever to wear that hood. mundanely, I would like to note that the Lady of the Lake for my birthday got me these damned lined socks. And they are snuggly, non-slip, and super warm, and they have the stupid little like poofy balls off the side of them, so you know you're right from your left. And I adore those things, and am going to wear them to death.
Oh, I just realized another like not sold with the original action figure accessory that you could buy with the Fleeg action figure. That's the BC.
Oh yeah, that's like the
The
Fleeg Barbie house.
Yes, it is.
It
That's
comes with
the
a fire
upper-
pit and a couple chairs.
That's not the that's the special play set.
Yes, exactly. That's your special play set, you know, not included with original purchase. Accessories sold separately.
Action figure not included.
Yeah, action figure not included, but accessories sold separately. Like that for sure would be the fire pit and the BC with chairs.
Yes.
So for me, my my favorite things to keep me warm, my little wibbies, like I love scarves, I love cloaks. I'm wearing one right now, this beautiful, beautiful lightweight wool scarf that Love got me for Christmas, from Feed the Ravens. But it's the layering of multiple scarves and cloaks and things, because I need all of those to keep me vaguely warm in any sort of situation that is below approximately 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, but I mean, if we were gonna go with like accessory though, Tulia's accessory, like kung fu grip, cocktail grip. That would what I'd have my cocktail my cocktail grip. That would be my
And a set of headdresses.
yes, exactly. And multiple changes of clothing. You could buy an entire wardrobe for the Tulia action figure to wear.
So you're the Barbie doll of the three of us.
We have a term for it. We call it Garby doll. Yes, I
No,
would be the Garby doll. Yeah. All right, so we can move back to the next question.
Yeah, I'm good with that one. So this one comes from Crecilius. What is the biggest hurdle you've had to get past once you received each peerage?
I can't think of the two of my peerages. I can't think of any hurdles that showed up. My Pelican was somewhat different because 2 months after I received it, I became Principal Herald of the Kingdom of the West. And that was a fair hurdle. But I know that there's a history with many people of some sort of a crisis of faith or of expectations that they had expected. But I've never felt that. So I have to give you a no answer on that one.
Okay, that's your experience, and it's good.
I mean, is this where I'm supposed to crack an old joke?
No.
No. Be nice, Helga. Or I don't know if you don't want to be nice. Who knows?
Miss Sassy?
Yeah, so I only have the one, just the Laurel. The biggest hurdle, that's kind of a good question actually for me, because I did not have the luxury of kind of walking into this in a situation where it just got given with no expectations. I came in many years after Fleeg. Oh shit, that came out as like a really shitty old reference, but
There.
Thank you. Your Grace. But yeah, so I came in, my peerage is only 9 years old. I think it was laureled in 2012. Yeah, it's 9 as of this last 12th night. And so but the vast majority of my SCA experience up until that point had not been a peer, and so I got given this peerage. Now I'm probably about, yeah, I'm still more years in the SCA not being a peer than out of it, or being a peer. But my experience has always been, I brought a lot of loaded crap to the experience of being a peer, because I loaded that crap up on myself before I got offered. And it is, that was probably my biggest hurdle, was literally getting over my own bullshit, and not somebody else heaping things on me, which, has happened. There have been, times I've run into expectations, or people's damage about me being a Laurel and them not, or me being a peer and them not. And that stuff is actually easier to get over than my own internalized BS. And so, yeah, I would say the hardest hurdle to get over was literally coming in with all the baggage that I brought with me, that is completely on me, that's not on anyone else. Helga?
So I'll say with the Pelican, there was less baggage to get over than, or like less weird like things to adjust to, because I just kind of kept being me, and I was still an angry unbelt at that point in time, so it was kind of like, whoop, like moving on. So the biggest hurdle I had to get past once I received a royal peerage was understanding that I had internalized a toxic bias about being a consort. And this was a really hard road. And so us as consorts will make jokes of like, oh, I was just sitting at sitting on the right dick at the right time, and everything else like that. And like, but we're supposed to have reverence for our queen or reverence for our princess, and then we as consorts are actually taught this very toxic mentality of cutting it down, like we do nothing in the rain, or we did nothing to get there. And so I'll say that after receiving that peerage, not by my own hand, because I didn't win any of the lists. I'm a duchess because Hans had 2 good days and is an amazing human being. And then I got to serve the kingdom in a capacity. And then I realized that as queen, there is very much so that reverence. And then when you step down, all of a sudden we start these very catty conversations about like, oh, well, you were just sitting on the right dick, or like, oh, like this just happened because you were lucky, or anything else like that. And what that does is it takes away from what the consort gives. It takes away what the queen is to the populace. Because as soon as they're done, we shit talk them like they're an old racehorse that is lame and never going to do anything else again. And I realized that I was one of the people doing that. And it was it's still hard to this day to put on my ducal coronet, because I do not feel like I earned it. I do not feel like I won that list. So I must not have done anything. I was just in the right place at the right time. And that is super wrong. And it's really, really damaging to our society. It is damaging to our future consorts. It's damaging actually to our fighters, because we all speak like that. And that takes away from that position that should be one of the most guarded and highly held positions. Because I will tell you, the kingdom turns to their queens in time of need. The kingdom turns to those consorts when they are expecting the fighters to behave. The consorts are held to a higher standard than the fighters are. Like, even if you're never going to win, those consorts are expected to be poised, they are expected to be graceful, and they are expected to stand on the sidelines where somebody else is determining their fate. You stand in finals, somebody else is determining your fate and what you're doing for the next 6 months to a year of your life. Hundreds of hours are poured into a reign, and you have nothing to do with that decision. And so that is probably the biggest hurdle that I had to get over becoming a royal peer, is my own toxicity around it and what I was taking away from everybody else's dream.
I think this kind of feeds into the little rant I gave you earlier today.
Yep.
Which is, you did earn your peerage. You earned that royal peerage. It's not that you just lucked into it or were the right person at the right time and somebody else did all the hard work. It's not an automatic thing, and I think this is something we very rarely in the SCAC is you know a royal peerage is not an automatic grant. It is something that can be not given. It's almost never not given, but it is something that is the reward for the work done. That you put in the hard work. You actually did the hard work being queen. Being queen is a harder job. And I think most kings, people who have reigned as king, will say being queen is a harder job. So, Fleeg, I saw your hand go up. Yeah.
What I was going to say is that you're absolutely right. That is a toxic thing, and it needs to be overcome and disavowed. But I mean, in a good reign, king and queen both have hard jobs in different areas. When it comes to what might be called the heart of the kingdom, that emotional heart, both the king and the queen, it depends on the reign. I mean, for this reign, Vera is the heart, as far as I'm concerned. I tend to be romantic, so more of my hearts are the queen. But for instance, King Christian, when he reigned, totally was the rock of the West Kingdom, and did all sorts of neat things. But let's have another question. I think.
Well, actually, I've still got
an
answer for my knighthood, because my knighthood is a total other bag of fuckery.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I just want to finish this with, don't shoot yourself down because you didn't earn that peerage through active fighting. That is a peerage, though, that you earned through participation and being the heart, like Fleeg said, like the heart of this weird, crazy game that we do. You stood up there and you bared your heart to everybody, and you know what? Go you.
Agreed. And also, I will tell you that your words matter with weight for the next generation. Is when we cut ourselves down for the accolades that we have received, we undermine the next generation that are trying to achieve what we have. And it should be treated as a treasure and such. It's still something I'm working on. Actually, please see my post about navel gazing today, because I realize that I have some very toxic behaviors around my own accolades. And so the hardest thing to get over with being a knight for me was understanding that it's still okay to have bad days. I'm gonna have days where I get my ass absolutely kicked at practice. Being a knight doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be good at everything. It's a mark on your path. It's like graduating high school. Congratulations, here's your high school diploma or your like 2-year degree. You still have a lot to fucking learn. It is not you have graduated with a PhD. Like this is still something that I remind myself, because like right now I'm reworking my flat snap. I'm reworking how I position my back foot when I fight, because I'm stealing my own power in things. And so realistically, the biggest hurdle that I had to get over with becoming a knight was understanding that self-acceptance around failure is okay and needs to be okay, because otherwise I'm going to breed that into all of my students, and I'm going to teach them that failure is not okay and that you must always be on to be a peer. And that's not what peers are. Peers are the best of us because they are willing to put their failures out in front of themselves, not hide them. So with that,
I think that calls for a soapbox drink.
Grace, 100%.
So next question.
All right, so we've got some fun questions. That was probably the hardest of all of them. Surprisingly, actually. Always surprises us every time. So the next question is, what Disney character do you see yourself as and why?
The Ferk?
I would like to know that we went from like super deep to like what the hell?
Hello, we're back in the shallow end.
Uh, I don't know. Star Wars is Disney now. Does that count?
No,
Yeah,
I will
it-
accept
it is
this.
a Disney product now. It is 100%. We should say Star Wars, Marvel, the Muppets, Pixar, all of that you can pick from.
I would have to say, oh geez. One of Huey, Dewey, or Louie.
I would like to note that somebody in the comments just called you out as Zazu from The Lion King.
I haven't seen The Lion King, so.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Well, I hadn't seen it either until.
Okay, I would like to note, do not watch the fucking computer-generated
It's
version.
really good though. That one is really good.
No, okay, watch the animated version. Way better. Way motherfucking better, okay?
I'm going with both have merits.
Both have merits, but at least fucking...
Well, I wouldn't look at any except the original because remakes tend to
It was essentially it was
dilute the message.
it was a scene for scene remake, but it was all done in this very hyper realistic, CG.
Oh.
I don't know why they decided to do it, but you know what? Whatever. It was by it's directed by.
Anyway, I haven't
I
haven't seen Lion King, so I have no idea. But Huey, Dewey, and Louie, when they were in their junior woodchuck years.
Oh gosh, that's given me some feel.
I think one of them might be me.
Awesome.
I accept this. Also, I would like to note that the entire audience is totally saying that you're Merlin from Sword in the Stone.
Well, that's their concept.
I want to agree with that one, having watched that movie until the VHS tape broke as a child.
I've seen it once.
That's Fleeg.
Okay. Yeah, I could be Merlin from that one.
Let's see. I guess this is you, Helga. You get to answer.
Yeah. And so if we're adding the Disney like in there, or so if we're adding Star Wars in there, do I just get to answer Cara Dune and like let it go?
Yeah, because you probably should.
Like, I 100% want to do that.
Star Wars product. What would you be?
Yeah. Okay. So if I wasn't a Star Wars product, what Disney character do I see myself as? Shit, that one's really fucked up.
It is really you chose this one though, you ding dong.
Are we including the Muppet franchise?
Yes, we are. I said Muppets.
Okay, cool. Then I'm
Wars,
100%
Marvel.
animal on like some Ritalin. Like that's like, or I'm fucking Rizzo the Rat, actually, because that dude got a lot of play, had every snarky response, and also is the character that manages to keep Treasure Island going. Okay.
No, you're 100% Rizzo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm Rizzo.
Yeah. Okay, so this is hard for me as well. I really want to say I'm Hey from Moana.
Oh.
I'm a ridiculous little chicken that just is dumb and
I so disagree with that.
I love Hey though. I feel like a spiritual connection with Hey a lot. Well, what do you think? Who do you think I am?
I mean, you might actually be Gonzo.
A fixation on chicken.
No, you timed that, so she was sipping her drink.
Gonzo. Really, I like to fire myself out of cannons, and I have an unholy and unhealthy fixation on chickens. Okay, fine, I'll take it. Whatever.
Also, the firing out of cannons, I would like to note, have you ever seen yourself decide to let loose on another human being about whatever is going on when you think they're wrong? Point one.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna go Muppets, like go super deep, I'm gonna say actually, if I identify with any Muppet, it's gonna be Grover. Grover, Super Grover, especially. This is me in my brain. Like, I am Super Grover, and I can do anything, but I'm gonna really just fuck it up like massively, but you know what? I'm still cute in the end, and everybody loves me. So,
I would like to note accepted.
okay.
I'm still sticking with Gonzo. I think you're Gonzo.
Well, a blue Muppet. Pick.
Also, I would totally go with what's her bucket from Tangled, the main character. I can't even remember.
You know what? I've never seen Tangled. As one of the few that so far I have not caught up on.
I would like to note I am the horse in that.
Oh,
movie.
for sure. You would.
Like,
I could completely believe that.
100%. I'm Hero. In that movie, like, has my facial expressions in there, including the point that my Wonder Twin and my husband were like, they made an animated character of you. Fuck.
Somebody's toddler just pointed at me and said, "Hey, hey." So I'm really hey, hey. Yeah, actually, funnily enough, people are saying Duchess from the Aristocats, and that was my favorite character when I was growing up as a little kid. I had a white fluffy cat toy, like a stuffed toy with a she had a little bell on her tail, and she was white and fluffy, and her name was Duchess. So, I'll go with that. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's go to the next question.
So the next question is,
Elise.
Ha! Almost had it.
Go you.
Best SCA party you've ever been to.
Aye. They all flow together like the ocean.
Would you like one of us to answer while you're thinking back?
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. I'm trying to quantify what constitutes best.
I would like to note that, like, my tome of SCA parties is like this thick. Sassy's is like this, and Fleeg's is like this.
No, girl, no. My parties is my party is a pamphlet. Like, my party experience is literally a pamphlet because
okay, well then
I go to bed at 10
You can answer first.
Wait, so me? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to do this? Well, if I'm staying up past 10 p.m., I'm gonna have to say. So no, there's been a handful of times. Nothing like epic, like no shit, there I was, and people were humping on tables, and then there was like, people were fighting. Like, I don't have that level of story, but one of my favorite stories is West on Tier many years ago. And I don't know, I was just really in my vibe that day. Like, that day was beautiful. I was just cruising through life. I had a bottle of St. George absinthe, which, for those of you listening, if you ever want to bribe me for anything, you can always get me a bottle of St. George absinthe. It'll set you back about $80 to $100, but I'm willing to listen. So I had my bottle of St. George, and I'm wandering around, just in the spice of life. The life thing is great. And at this point, I've drank probably a third of the bottle of absinthe. And I actually weirdly have a very weird high tolerance for absinthe. But I end up at the West Kingdom party Saturday night. It's usually Saturday night at West on Tier. And I am just happy as hell. And I can't remember who was king at the time, and I can't remember what was going on. I know that there were penis pinatas involved. And at one point, Duke Radnor gets on his knees so he can look me directly in the eye and tells me I'm delightful. And I was just like, well, I'm done. I'm good. Life, perfect. I'm never going to achieve anything else over this. And I'm happy, and I can move on with my life. And then Viscount Sir Leon got hit by one of the penis pinatas.
That's when he earned the spoon crown.
That's when he earned the spoon crown. And then later on, can't tell you how long, because time is ephemeral when you're drinking straight out of a bottle of St. George absinthe. I ended up at my now boyfriend's squire's vigil for his laureling, and I don't know why I decided to stumble in after only having ever talked to him maybe 3 times in our entire existence. But I came in and I'm like, "You're going to be a laurel. I'm drunk." And he's like, "Yeah, whoever you are, weird lady." And I'm like, "Cool, here's a bottle of absinthe." And he's like, "I love absinthe." And I'm like, "Great, we're friends now." And the rest of it.
And you took the bottle back.
Oh, no, he kept it, because
Okay.
I do not rescind my offers. I said, I saw
Oh,
him
you went like that with your.
no. I said, "Do you like," because I saw him look at the bottle, and I'm like, "You've been here a long time, haven't you?" And he's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Do you like absinthe?" And he's like, "I like absinthe." I'm like, "Merry Christmas, happy laureling." And then poofed. And yeah, that was a great night, and I have been chasing that ever since. But yeah, like, it was just me rolling and living my best life that night. So who else wants to go?
Fleeg, do you have yours, or shall I do mine?
I can think of one. It's really hard to quantify best, because you can go to a bardic circle that's like a perfect bardic circle,
Yeah.
but it's not really a party. It was really good, but it was not really a party. But I think the one that I possibly had the most fun at was one where the heralds had made up a kingdom for court training, because court training involves having someone play the king, and someone plays the herald, and someone plays the recipient of awards. And we made up a kingdom and made up awards so that we wouldn't get all squeaked out about doing the knighthood ceremony when it wasn't real. And so we had a party. Well, it was all heralds, well, pretty much all heralds, and the kingdom of the south, full of all sorts of stereotypes. And we were all laughing and drinking and making up new names and having fun. And it was just perfect in and of itself. We had to close down the Kingdom of the South a couple of years later because it was getting too real.
I heard that's what happened to the Kingdom of Canale too.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
same kind of problem.
Mhm.
It was like,
People
yeah,
started.
that was fun. That was fun. It was light. It's not getting okay.
Oop. People actually are taking the shit seriously.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that so much as we were. It was losing the tutorial value
Mm.
because we were
Yeah.
laughing too much. Anyway, so there's mine. I mean, there's been lots of other good ones, but
Mm.
I mean,
I
there's
had to choose one.
many a good SCA party. So mine is actually this Star caveat. So I became basically a triple peer in like 2 years, 2.5 years, roughly. And that actually stole a bunch of the whimsy for me, because all of a sudden I felt like I should be this serious peer and everything else like that. Blah blah blah. Jerk. Whatever. Like, I need to get over my own bullshit. And then this last Estrella, they had a party where they hired a live band. And so I would like to know, Dropkick Murphy's cover band.
Literally the best thing ever.
Like, and then they dressed them. So the band showed up and they found garb to fucking dress this band. And then they had a taco bar, they had a carnitas bar, they had 3 different alcohol bars. They had a sober bar, by the way, so like those that did not wish to drink could go to their own bar and have virgin mixed drinks. Super pro that. And it was one of the coolest like SCA whimsical parties ever, because it stopped being pretentious And it reminded so many people that, like, look, we're here for the people. And yeah, that's a live band that is running power to their fucking bass and their speakers and everything else like that. And we were dancing and having fun. And they were doing covers of like period songs and and they stayed way past when they were paid. I would
You're
like to
having a
note.
great time.
And it was just so much fun because there was hundreds of SCAers there getting over the idea that we had to be we're going to go into like slightly weird. The SCA is not recreation. Parts of us are. Parts of us should totally be recreation, and we should be looking at being as period as we can be and everything else like that. But when it comes to partying and gathering, I think that should go out the window, because we are such a broad society in like what we do, big umbrella, everything else like that. And we should forget that when we party. And this party was such a good reminder of that. It was the point in time where so many people let go of their idea of what needed to be period and perfect, and we all just rocked out to a band that was having a blast in a bunch of loner garb, eating way too much food, drinking and laughing, sharing stories of war. And it was literally one of the most perfect SCA moments I've ever had, because it was both the mundane and the medieval clashing to this beautiful fucking moment of just, we're all here to enjoy each other because we're weird ass geeks, and let's do this.
Fleeg?
Yeah, it reminds me of one of the things that I like to say when people ask me, what's the SCA about? It's like, we're not reenactors. Boy, howdy, are we not reenactors. Because we're not picking a specific historic event and making it. We are recreationists.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
Recreation. Look at the word.
Recreation.
Right. Recreation and recreation are the same word, at least the same spelling. And that's good enough for philosophical purposes. That we cannot forget both pronunciations.
I do tend to say that we are medieval recreationists, not recreationists.
We do a really good job with physical objects.
Material culture.
We do a moderately good job with things like song and poetry.
I think
the peerage structure is bass-backwards and peculiar, and it's never going to be changed because it's too late.
We're too far in now.
But
yeah. True. Now that is very much how I feel about the SCA, which is, we get a lot of things right on the top level. Once you filter into the culture, it gets a little more woodgy. That's a technical term when you sew. Just a little, like, things are a little permeable and a little moving around a lot, and whatever it works. Yeah, that was a great party, actually, and it was the last party we went to before shutdown at Estrella this time last year. Oh, well, I should say maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now. This time last year, but yeah. At least we went out on a high note, right?
I mean, it was a seriously fun high note. Like, that party was rocking and just reminded me so much of what the SCA should be versus like the weird rut that I was running into.
Sure. And actually, it's a good question for Fleeg. Do you think the SCA is going to survive this?
COVID, and by this I mean, you mean COVID.
I do, yes.
And the lockdown and everything else.
Yeah. That's exactly.
It will never be the same, because it will never be the same.
Yeah.
COVID is, in my opinion, one of those things that will define decades of behavior on the part of human beings in the United States and, in matter of fact, the whole rest of the world. The SCA, I think, will survive, but there will be differences. I don't know if you looked at the Lockhawk Crown Tournament.
Yeah. I watched that.
I watched portions of it.
Yeah.
It was weird. There were, I don't know quite how to express this. There were emotional gaps in it. The fighting was beautiful. I didn't see any, rhino hiding or anything, but there was a distancing, which again was caused by the necessity to be safe in a dangerous world. I think we will see online presentation of classes and arts and sciences. I think that will continue. I think tournaments will continue to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was a membership collapse of 25 to 30%, followed by a recovery, provided the corporation can remain funded enough to continue. But that's my feeling on it. And I want to say that I intend to give another donation to the corporation. I gave one when I renewed my membership last September. I'm going to give another one. We need the SCA Inc. to continue so that we can have the SCA back when this is over.
This is something that I think, I don't know, maybe apocryphal, Your Grace, you may correct me, because you were there and you were the subject of the story. But I've heard many people that were there in the beginning of the SCA talk about how, and you mentioned it yourself, that there were a handful of you that had real jobs, in the very early days, that would continually give to the SCA at a higher level than perhaps all the other college students that were running around at the time. And the story that I heard, and I apologize if this puts you on a spot or in a weird thing, but I want to say that this was a story that I always heard about you, is that people would pass the hat at an event and everyone would throw what they could into it, essentially, to keep the SCA going. And then there would always be a check. No one ever said an amount, but there would, or a check or like money or something, that came from you and the people that could continue to keep this SCA thing going all these years. And I think about that all the time when I think about the concept of largesse, the concept of franchise, the concept of all of these things that we hold in high esteem in the SCA, and how can I give and how can I make sure that someone else who is not of as high means as I am, they can still participate. So I think that that's one of the beautiful things about the SCA, is that we always have this kind of giving culture on it. So if you want to correct that story, go for it.
The story is, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
at its base, correct. The number of times it was me that made up the difference is small.
Mm-hmm.
I was a graduate student at the time when passing the hat was the way we paid for sites, or the privies.
Yeah.
It was the privy purse. I would say that I can name two people, and I will, because one of them is dead. And the other one won't mind being named. Stephen McInroog and William the Lucky were two of the people who put more money than their share by a lot into those hats. And that was, yes, that people who had money gave it.
Mm-hmm.
People who had the ability to buy a pig and do the first experiment in roasting a pig did. And they didn't charge anything for coming to the backyard and watching them try to roast a pig. Total failure, by the way, total failure.
You learned though. It was a learning process.
Oh yes, and we learned a lot. Like, it takes a lot longer to roast a pig than you think.
Mm-hmm. But
Oops. Helga's putting on her glasses.
I was like, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
and so it's like eventually my eyes get tired, so I wear my glasses most of the day. But eventually my eyes get tired, and I need to go put on my glasses. So we're gonna go with.
Wait a minute.
Look,
Where
I was
did
having to
Helga
figure out how
go?
they fit with my like.
That's Marion the librarian.
Yeah, so now you're getting like the librarian look.
I was in that musical. I played Mrs. Peru, Marion's mother. Anyway,
Or maybe it's Diana.
I was gonna say we rabbit holed off the one question about like FCA parties.
I wanted to go back to that point though, that my very sincere question to His Grace about, do you think the SCA will survive off of the, because of COVID and all of these things. And we see a lot of this on Facebook constantly of the SCA is never going to come back. It's never going to be what it was. And I think 100%, yeah, it's not going to be what it was. It can't be, but it will continue because people will continue. I feel like that's what I want to do, is continue to make it a great thing and a thing that we're evolving. We're in a weird little inflection point. That's a word that gets bandied about, or a phrase that gets bandied about a lot now. We're in an inflection point, and I hope that this is kind of one of these things that will allow us to springboard into something better. Fleeg, I saw your hand up.
There's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very British joke. There used to be, because it doesn't exist anymore, a weekly satire humor magazine called Punch.
Yes.
It was started back in the 1800s, mid 1800s, and it survived into the 80s, 1980s. And there was a continuing joke. Punch isn't as funny as it used to be. And the answer to that is it never was. The SCA will never be the same as it was. Everything we do changes it.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to think that a lot of the changes that are happening now are really, really good ones.
Mm-hmm. An organization needs to change in order to survive. And so...
Excuse me, preacher, choir.
No, I'm just saying that out there for those who may be a little confused or conflicted about the changes that are happening. But it is true, like that an organization needs to change in order to survive. We can't be static. And in the West, I'm going to throw that down, we love our tradition, and we love that things are very static about the way we approach how we play this game. But at the same time, I think we actually are pretty flexible as an organization. And growing pains suck. Growing pains are not fun. And we're at one of those growing pains points where we have to evolve and adapt. And I think we're going to come out of this okay. And if we don't have like the most membership ever, like back in the, mid 90s, when like literally we were at our ridiculous peak of membership, that's fine. But we're still going to continue, and we're still going to be what we are. And we still, I hope, continue to do good things.
Agreed.
Helga's trying to talk.
I'm like, do you have anything?
No, I wasn't there. I was just like, I agree with all this. Like, fucking whimsical stardust around all of this conversation. Hell yes. Like, I'll be the annoying whimsical weed in the process of this. Like, let's roll on.
Oh, by the way, though, I want to share with you this text message my boyfriend just sent me. When you put your glasses on, you went from barbarian to librarian. Leave it to Thorfinn.
Yep, that's good. That Thorfinn vision there.
Yeah, it is some Thorfinn vision.
I will still flat snap the fuck out of a fool with these glasses on.
Yeah, well, you can try with Thorfinn.
I mean, I could try. He's probably gonna block it. All right, are we ready to do the last scheduled question for the evening, and then we can decide if we're gonna keep going?
Sure.
Miss Sassy, that one is for you.
Do we have one that we decided to pick?
It's the ultimate sword fight scene.
Oh, right. So this is our question to you. In your opinion, what is the ultimate movie sword fight scene?
Oh, of the movies I've seen,
All the movies you've seen.
which isn't very many.
Don't worry.
Princess Bride, Top of the Cliffs. Absolutely. That there is no other sword fight scene that comes close, in my opinion. I mean, Kaikon and Darth Maul was good, but no. The one at the top of the Cliffs of Insanity is the best sword fight scene ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have to think about that one.
I know.
mean-
You just literally were like, bam, there you are.
I would like to note that both Sassy and I universally agreed on that opinion.
That
while
was
we
one
were
of my top
selecting this
3.
question.
That was actually top 3 of the 3 that I had lined up for this question.
So
Helga.
I'm also going to go with the latter sword fight scene in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
I very much so enjoyed that scene. Not for its hokey violation of physics. However, the sword handling I think was top notch, and it was a super fun fight scene because Fleeg stole my top fight my top fight scene, and so that's going to be my second choice.
So which one is that?
It's in the original when they're fighting in the blacksmith shop. And they're going up and down on ladders and like through all the layering.
Okay.
It's very similar to the sword fight scene that was choreographed for the Three Musketeers movie done by Disney.
Oh my God, though, so many. The 1973 and 74 Musketeers movies, like, you cannot get better. But those were not my actual top 3 choices. My top 3 choices were, of course, Princess Bride, because Princess Bride. Number 2 was The Duelists by Ridley Scott, a 1977 movie that is amazing. It's got Harvey Keitel in it, for God's sake, you guys, and eminently quotable. It takes place in the Napoleonic age. It's one of these like just ridiculously broad. In fact, now we have a 4K TV. I really want to watch this on 4K because it's one of those movies you gotta watch on 4K. But I think, and don't quote me, I could be completely wrong on this. I think it's actually the guy who did the fight choreography for Princess Bride also did the fight choreography for The Duelists. And then third was, oh shoot, now I've totally lost it. Princess Bride, The Duelists, and Vikings, mid-60s. Great fight scene at the very end, like epic level, like really kind of like up there on the Princess Bride level of fighting on the turrets and like everybody was going.
Oh, I saw that. Somebody put a link to that.
Yes.
Recently. It's
the
sword handling is awful. The swords go skittering out of hands and down.
It's
and
messy.
They go diving across things to get their swords back. But yes, it's a good deal of fun. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. It's mid-60s, early mid-60s. Wana, who I know is watching, will chime in any second and tell me what year it is. But yeah, Vikings and Princess Bride and The Duelists. And then, of course, coming up on that is the 1973 and 74 3 and 4 Musketeers. So good.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you haven't seen the recent BBC Musketeers,
really,
very good sword work.
You think so? Okay.
Not top, over the top impressive, but you actually believe that they know how to use the swords.
And
It's also like really heavy leather.
Nice.
So I was way off on my Vikings date. It is Kirk Douglas. It's 1958. It's not mid 60s.
Yes, Kirk Douglas. That's the one I was talking about.
Yes, Kirk Douglas. I mean, who wouldn't talk about Kirk Douglas? Like running across the oars. Like, you gotta watch this movie. It is so good and surprisingly not inaccurate. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's not bad, especially for the time.
And so I would like to note that there is a difference between impressive sword work and a fight scene that you're like, yeah, because impressive sword work is like parry, riposte, they're fucking done. Like there's shit that, like, amusingly enough, for as much as the history Viking show is an emotional jerk off to what we think the Vikings should be and should never be on anything that says History Channel, like ever in their fucking lives. Jesus Christ, I have yelled at that show so much, but I really enjoy a lot of the fight scenes in that show because they're very much so like, I have parried, you have fucked up, you're bad. Like, peace out. There's no long drawn out fight scenes. It is literally like 3 paces, you're done.
So,
and how many SCA fights look like that?
So many.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, so many. I'm sorry. Did you draw Duke so and so in the list? Well, fuck. Okay. Like, let's see if we can survive 2.
Oh God, there's so many. Actually, people are messaging in and saying things like, so I just got a text message that said Achilles and Hector in, what was that? Troy? No, wait.
Okay, so it also all depends on your period, like, emotional jerk off too. Like, that's the difference too, is like, are you into like that early period, like Greek fighting? Like, there's going to be different movies that fall for you. Are you into the romanticized like 14th century ideal? Okay, cool. There's going to be movies that like hit your like fucking emotional G spot about fighting. Are you into the rapier fighting and the choreography behind it? Like, there's going to be a different one that gets you off too.
Yeah, what feels authentic versus what is beautiful to watch.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Well,
that's why The Princess Bride.
Yeah, and I think that's
it doesn't have to be historic.
Yeah.
It has to be good. And it has to have things like, I am not left-handed either.
The witty repartee of that is just, it makes it, and actually part of the reason why I really like The Duelists is it has an element of that witty repartee that you see, but it's, in Princess Bride, it takes it to the next level. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Another good sword, Cyrano.
Oh, which
the 50s Cyrano.
Yes. Okay. I was like, like the...
and on the refrain, thrust home.
Yes. Well, and that's exactly what The Princess Bride was referencing.
Yes.
It's a complete like homage to all of those. Yeah.
Also, I would like to note that Radar just hit the fucking nail on the head. The fight scenes in Brotherhood of the Wolf.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh my God. I actually have the French dub version. Watch it. Do not watch the English version ever in your life. That is one of my favorite movies. Point blank fucking period. And I will fight people over that movie. That it is one of the most cinematographic. It is fucking beautiful, well done, and fucked up.
I love it.
Bing.
All right. So have we answered all the questions?
We have answered all the questions we selected for the night. We are currently at 2 hours.
Yes.
Do we want to like Grace? Do you wish to take a couple of questions from the audience? Do we want to like tap out and just go hang out in the chat room? How is our tech crew feeling? Like, what's going on?
Let the tech guys decide. I can go forever. I mean, this is sitting around a bardic circle, and I could do that until I run out of beer.
Well,
I've got two 12-packs.
I would like to note that the tech guys just gave the thumbs
up.
They
both shrugged. They're like, okay, what do we got going on in our world? But I do have a question for you, Your Grace. Not Your Grace, His Grace. Is how did you get the nickname Fleeg? Where did you come from?
That's that was this fellow named Wagner who wrote a whole bunch of operas. Some of them were about the ring, and there was this one about a fellow who tried to go around some cape or other, and got condemned to be sailing a ghost ship, and so love would rescue him. And it's a opera with lots of light motifs and heavy motifs, and a few sillinesses like the crew of the Brav call the crew of the dock workers calling for the crew of the Brav to come drink with them, and the crew can't leave the ship, so they're going. So they sing along, and it's called the Flying Dutchman, or Der Fliegende Hollander. Now, once upon a time, I was young, and I had a motor scooter, not a motorcycle, a motor scooter, Lambretta 150, allowed to go on freeways only where freeways did not have roads that ran parallel to them. And I used it to go pretty much hither and yon across from Pasadena to Santa Monica. And one point I attended a party down in Santa Monica and was heading back home to Pasadena because I lived in the dorms at Caltech. And I was going along Sunset Boulevard, which extends quite a way from point A to point B, starting at the coast and going inland. And it used to have a trolley on it. This was before the trolleys got killed by the automotive industry. See Who Framed Roger Rabbit for references. And so I was between the tracks in the right-hand lane. And the tracks gradually moved over into the left-hand lane, where I was not nearly so happy with being, because there were lots of Mercedes and BMWs and Chevrolets and Fords and other things that were much larger than me on a Lambretta 150 motor scooter. So I decided that I would switch back to the right-hand lane and get out from between the trolley tracks. And the trolley tracks were exposed by the wear of the road. They would be a trolley track, be a gap like this big with a trolley track like that inside it, recessed by, maybe a couple of inches. Okay, now remember that distance, okay? It's just about the width of my face. And I get ready, I look over my shoulder, get ready, I signal, I pull, and the space around the trolley track expands right at that position. And my front wheel goes into this chasm and twists, jams, and throws me over the handlebars. And I look down at the pavement flowing in front of me and go, I don't want to hit that going this way. So I somehow managed to throw myself so that I was moving with my body perpendicular to my line of motion, and hit and rolled and ended up in the gutter. And someone comes over and looks down at me and says, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No." And somebody called an ambulance, and somebody got the motor scooter out of the center of the road. Nobody actually hit it or me, because I had looked behind me and there wasn't anybody on my right-hand side. And I had broken my foot in the process of going over the handlebar. Well, I was going over, the handlebar was there, my foot was there, bang, 5th metatarsal, left-hand side. And the person at the emergency clinic looked at me, looked at the foot, wrapped the foot up in a bandage, said, "Here's how you wrap the bandage," and gave me a pair of crutches. And my father came, picked me up, took me back to Caltech. Because my parents lived in Pacific Palisades. It wasn't that far.
Mm.
And so for the next several weeks, I couldn't ride my motor scooter down to the Losfus meetings. I had to get a ride for a friend of mine, which was fine because he was perfectly willing to give me a ride. And well, when you're young and you have a broken foot and it's not totally immobilized in a cast up to your hip, there's a game you can play with crutches, which is you lean forward, and place them as far from you as possible, and you leap off your strong leg and you swing through and see just how far you can get in one step. And a friend of mine said, watched me do this across the meeting hall we were using for the Losfus meetings, and said, "Oh, look, they're Fleeg der Hollander." And those words came flying across and stuck. I was Fleeg from then on.
Yeah, that's how I learned who you were.
I was about to say, a nickname accepted.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice.
Well, that's the best nicknames. You don't get a choice; they just get given to you.
I mean, that's how all those Old Norse nicknames happened. Old Snotnose didn't call himself Old Snotnose.
Yeah.
That was his buddies going, "Hey, Snotnose!"
So it means to fly, or
Pretty much.
fly. I don't know.
There's also a band in Germany called Fleeg.
That's funny. So would you like to tackle another one, Your Grace?
Sure.
Would you like a you specific, or would you like a group question?
If you would just give me a moment to dip out for
I'm gonna solidly assault Fleeg specific questions.
Okay.
Well, you run away.
Okay.
BRB.
Empty the bladder. Empty the bladder.
From Kitty, have you read all the books behind you on the shelves?
Pretty much, yeah. Not the ones that are over in that shelf, because that's my wife's shelf. Those are I've read about half because they're my name reference works. These other two shelves, by the way, that one right there, that's another shelf just like that one. Those are all science fiction and fantasy. And yes, I have read all of them.
Nice. All right, so next one from the audience. Would you tell us your version of Penzik 4?
I think that's too long for here.
Okay.
The short version is I saw it was wet. I got to follow my king around through the woods in water that was, well, deeper than I could show on my screen. And somehow he came out of it with dry boots. I'm not sure how Asbjorn did that. But
all right.
It involved a lightning strike on the field within 100 feet of where I was standing.
Holy shit. So we're going to end up having to have you tackle that one at a later date, because that seems like a story that should be recorded.
We can bring that story into the Discord if people are willing to.
All right, we are on that this evening. The other one comes from Bree. How did the term "people in the park" come about? Those outside of the West Kingdom don't know.
People in the park?
I was about to say, I haven't.
People's Park. No, that can't be right.
It was "people in the park" in quotes.
well, we were very often those people in the park. I've never heard us refer to ourselves that way. But I've heard of people who say how they found the SCA, that they'd heard about it and wanted, ask somebody, oh, you mean those people in the park over there? Because in the early days, we did a lot of not sites. We didn't reserve a site. We found a public park and set up a fighting field and had our fun. To a certain extent, Kaid still does this, though I believe they actually reserve the portions of the park that they use.
You have to get permits now. There's all those pesky permits.
We had
asking one more before we go to a group question, because this one specifically is for you. Our sister show, Ask the Knights Live, presents a question. What do you think of all the web content out there right now? And would you be willing to be on Ask the Knights Live?
As far as all the web content out there, I've sampled it. I've actually been involved in a couple of other shows. It ranges from really fantastic to the content that is arts and crafts specific has a much higher ratio of, oh wow, that's great, as far as I'm concerned. On the other hand, I'm trying to write, and there's only so many hours I can spend watching television or video. And I have my own choices about what I have made my priorities. It's really good to see people trying to maintain community using the high tech, but to me, as far as things like virtual courts are concerned, they're not the same. They really do not satisfy. I go to court to bear witness, and I have gone to virtual court for the same reason, but you can't have snarky comments to your neighbors. You can't just feel the emotional surge when the Herald says it is the prerogative, and everybody goes, yes, it's a court barony for her. Oh, wow. That's missing. And there's no way that the video can do it. Not without professional cinematographers, actors, and even then it would be fake. But the video out there is providing value. Some of the instructional videos provide exceptional value. And interview shows like this produce some value too. And yes, Leo, I would be perfectly happy to be on Ask the Knights Live.
So there you go, Logan. You have your answer. You should invite His Grace to be on Ask the Knights Live, because you're going to get some really good answers from him. Wholeheartedly, Between Two Peers endorsed. Do we want to do one more question?
Sure.
Yes, she's back now.
Miss Sassy, I have highlighted one in blue if you want to see if that's a good ending question.
This is from Crystal. What do you think is the most meaningful thing you do in the SCA currently? In my opinion, she gives her opinion. In my opinion, it is that you keep the West Kingdom Welcoming Committee going. I see the positives of that at gate. But for you, what do you think the most meaningful thing you do in the SCA is?
That's one of those things again. What's the best party you've been to? I don't tend to rank things. I mean, I know what I do in the SCA, especially now with COVID. I'm doing heraldic consultation. I try to get it out of the noisy channels into the quiet channels where I can explore options with the client. I debunk false rumors in terms of the before time. I would say I'm quite proud of the West Kingdom Welcome Committee, but I don't think that's the most important thing I do. I think that the most important thing I do is to show that I can still contribute, even though I am now a graybeard, and that it is possible to do everything. I'm an example of that. I haven't done all the things because I haven't done any costuming, and calligraphy and illumination eludes me. But, and my leather work is crude. But I have done arts, service, fighting. You can do it all. And I am an example of that. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Helga, what do you think is your?
So this is gonna sound like an emotional ego jerk. So I think that the most meaningful thing I can do in the SCA right now is owning my own path and where I'm stumbling on it. And so I try to openly talk about like the coffee thoughts and like my navel gazing posts and stuff like that of just like where I'm at right now as a peer and kind of like owning my own fucked up nature in the process of trying to get rid of the illusion that peers are perfect. And that we don't have struggles and we don't like we don't have all the fucking answers. And like, look, I fucked up. I have fucked up huge in the SCA, and luckily the SCA is very, very forgiving. And because of that forgiveness, I have been allowed to grow and change. And so I think that the biggest gift that I can give back to the SCA is the ownership and how much the SCA has changed me. And then in that same path being like, look, I'm an open book about like why and how I fucked up. And then the fact that I'm still on this journey. And so I think that that's kind of like the most meaningful thing I can do in COVID times right now. Cause I can't like host big events. I can't like go and run a list. I can't go be a herald. I can't like be one of the consorts or a fighter trying to give back to the pageantry right now. And so all I can really do is just kind of navel gaze a little bit and be like, look, this is my journey and trying to be a better human. So that's my weird, like existential fucking egotistical weird answer. So yeah, keep you.
I'm gonna go back to. Well, this is my emotional jerk off. Meaningful thing I do in the SCA currently is the show. I mean, I feel like this show gave me meaning. Show gives me meaning. This gives me a reason to put a costume on every week and put makeup on and brush my hair. Brush my teeth. You know? I get out of bed in the morning for this show every day. And you know, Helga and I, we collaborate on it, the tech crew, the mod team on Discord. You know, like it is so many people have become wrapped into this weird thing that just, you know, it was my excuse to essentially put garb on once a week during lockdown. It's become something so much more. And I didn't think of this as something that it was going to actually give me meaning, but it does. It gives me a lot of meaning. It gives me a lot of like, you know, validation, talking to people who are on the show, talking to people in the chat, in the community, outside, in the broader SCA universe. That's my answer.
I think that's a solid way to end the show too. Is with a little bit of humble brag.
Yeah, it's kind of a humble brag.
And I would like to say thank the two of you for doing this, because I've haven't watched all of the shows, but they're all there to be watched.
Mhm.
And I have watched several of them, which have been just totally effing amazing.
Wait, do we win? He almost sweared on camera.
No, if you just say F, then
Effing.
you are actually pronouncing the M dash.
There you go.
Okay, like I accept this as the ego stroke that it is right now, and I'm just gonna preen with it a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Actually,
And thank you so much for being willing to be on the show. Because if we didn't have those that are willing to be on the show, like Sassy and I wouldn't have a time doing this.
yeah.
Also, I'm just going to note to the larger audience, this was 100% Sassy's idea, who then drug me violently into it.
I did
Like,
not.
I did not have an option. She was like, oh, hey, by the way, you're going to be my co-host for this motherfucker?
No,
Let's go.
No, okay, that's some glossing over. That's some Hollywood, you know.
Let us live with a Hollywood sword fight about our relationship.
Okay, we had a
in this
Hollywood sword fight about her being on the show, and I won the first time ever I ever won a sword fight.
She 100% won that, like the fucking awesome sword fighter that she
So
is.
this story is the one of the silver screen, that Hollywood movie about
Yes.
Hollywood.
It's
Yeah.
like oh shoot, what's that Coen Brothers movie that just came? Not Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is not the movie I'm thinking of, but also very good. The one that's the Coen Brothers, where it's the Hollywood movie within the Hollywood movie. With George Clooney, and he plays a very kind of like Cary Grant / Clark Gable character.
I know the movie. I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's so good.
But I haven't seen most movies.
But I do see, like, that's kind of what this is. And I have a terrible memory, so of course I can't pull it out of my butt.
Well, so with that, in
Hail
all of
Caesar!
our
Hail Caesar! That was what it was.
Ah.
Thank you.
solid pull. And
Yes.
so with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the show because we're going to go hang out in the Discord channel afterwards anyways. So I'll say to all of our amazing followers, the Discord link is in the description of this video. You want to come hang out with us, introduce yourself, get a fan roll, and then you can come hang out in the live chat where we can ask all of our amazing guests a bunch of questions throughout the night. Like last time we hung out until 2 a.m. And so Duke Flieg, would you, or Frederick of Holland, sorry, would you like to do a shout out, call out for anything else that's out there right now? Pimp your book.
Yes, you said I could advertise my books here, and I will. I have written a arc. It's a series. It's a closed-end series. If you're looking for The Chosen One, you're looking for apotheosis, you're looking for violent sword fights and, near rape sex, you're not going to find it in these books.
I'm relieved.
The books, my hero is a bodyguard by profession. He travels between worlds because there are gates that take you from one world to another, and if you don't have a special magic stone, you're never getting back. And he travels from one world to another, having adventures, and finally the adventures that I have written come to an end in the last book. They're on Amazon. I am Frederick Hollander, author, on Facebook, a Facebook page, and you can search for Follow the Dwarf, which is the final volume, in Kindle. If you don't want to sponsor Amazon, you can write to me through Facebook, and I will send you an EPUB of it, and you will send me money. That's it.
Can you autograph the EPUB?
No.
Oh, okay.
Smart ass.
I mean,
So
if
Carius
we
asked-
print it out, will you autograph it for us?
So Carius asked, will you,
Of course.
autograph the EPUB? Okay, so my shout out, I'm really enjoying the Coach's Corner series that comes on. There's a lot of content that goes through various different iterations, various different people talking about interesting things when it comes to fighting. I know I've talked about this before. But I want to say, like, there is a broad spectrum of stuff that gets talked about in that series. That it's not like it's not like this show where like you kind of know what you're going to get. Like Helga and I and a to be announced third party that we will all have kind of like the sort of format that we stick to. That series is definitely a really interesting series to pay attention to, because it's a different mix of people. Most of the time there's a change up in who's on it, who's giving perspectives, the topics that they're talking about. Like, just look it up. Coach's Corner, STA Coach's Corner. Like, I'm really, really psyched about what they're doing. So, Helga.
I would like to note, fuck you for stealing my call out.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm gonna like totally piggyback on hers and pimp out Coach's Corner. Also, this is a little bit of weird ass ego stroking. Coach's Corner is hosting me for some video breakdown stuff that both Duke Thorfinn,
That will
Sean,
be
and
nice.
myself, and then a guest host is doing.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool.
Mhm.
And it's also super intimidating to be on. So yeah, pew pew. But also, I'm gonna give our regular shout out to our sister show, Ask the Knights. They're doing some amazing stuff. They've got a bunch of shows laid out for the next like month and a half, 2 months. Go like, share, and follow their content. It's really, really cool. Also, send them some really weird questions, because Logan will ask the Knights some really fucked up weird questions. Like, you want to screw with the Knights, this is how to do it.
Exactly.
So go follow that show. Beyond that, I'm going to shout out to the Sisters Interview. They are consistently putting out some amazing content.
Fantastic.
And they host like 3 different shows. There's a 4th one coming out with the Sisters Interview. They're kind of like a conglomerate of like shows out there. Really, really, like, go check them out. They interviewed Fleeg a couple months ago. And so like, go check them out. They're doing some really, really cool stuff, and they're giving a lot of people the way in. And because I can do one more shout out, because it is our show, so Sassy and I are allowed to do as many as we want.
Hey, that's
I'm gonna-
on you.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you to go check out Between Two Privies, which is a parody show based off this show.
Oh my God.
Like,
You
no
know
joke.
you have arrived when people parody you.
I feel like is this what artists feel like when Weird Al parodies them?
I know
Because
exactly.
that's
This is
so
exactly how I felt. And so this is a bunch of unbelts, interviewing other populace members of their kingdom, and they're going to branch out into multiple kingdoms. And so they're using the basic format. They're going after the same vibe, and they're doing a really, really cool thing, because they are making where we tend to do a lot of peers. We try to mix it up, and we try to go from around the around the kingdoms of the known world. They are choosing to like specifically interview non-peers about their experience in the SCA, and it's turning out really, really cool. So go check them out. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on YouTube. Like, go like, share, and follow their content, because they're doing some really, really cool stuff. And so
I'm plugging this into. Oh, there they are.
Yeah, like, no joke.
Already likes them. I'm gonna like them. I just like them.
They're exactly as sassy as you would expect to be a parody show.
Brilliant.
Like, no
Okay,
joke.
they've already got some shows too.
Yeah, and so like, check them out. They're worth the like, share, and follow. And then so beyond that, I'm gonna say, hey, look, all y'all, smash that like button. Remember, likes for treats. And every time that we hit over 100 likes on YouTube, I have to Amazon a box of dog treats to Baby Ninja for his puppos. And so there we go. Beyond that, liking and sharing and following helps us keep doing the weird ass content that we're doing, because we're really the Jerry Springer of SCA shows, and we would really like to continue what we're doing.
I mean, I watch Jerry Springer. I disagree with that on a fundamental level. I think we're more like Sally, Jesse, Raphael. Thank
So
you.
I never watched Sally Jesse. I only watched Jerry Springer.
She was a slightly classier, but also kind of trashy.
Okay, so I'll give you. We're the Sally Jesse of SCA shows where we want to bring you content and have fun, have some serious conversation, and then fuck off and drink.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whatever your choice is, alcoholic or non. And so we're looking forward to you showing up next week where Miss Sassy is taking the week off, and it is going to be the Between Two Peers Wonder Twin edition.
This is gonna
Oh
be
no.
shenanigans.
Yeah, so this is going to be shenanigans galore. We are interviewing Kit from the East, who is that curmudgeon-y centurion. I would like to note that both Anton and I are going to have a delightful time harassing the dog shit out of this individual on camera. So please come join us for this show. It's going to be a good time. And then Sassy will be back on to interview with Kunahild, and where she will be interviewing her protege or
My
apprentice.
Oh, she's already a
She's already a peer.
pelican. So, but she's still my apprentice. That is Asa. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun shenanigans then too. So tune in.
So again, like, share, and follow. Come hang out with us in the Discord for the week. The links are in the description of this chat. And thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We had a blast. Thank you so much, Fleeg. This has been amazing.
You. Yeah, you got.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
We will see y'all later.